Hi, my name is Erin. This is Hadden, and this is the Bridge of Love. We love sharing our journey with you and focusing on all of the gifts within it, the gift of being nonverbal, the gift of having a nonverbal person in your life. We have found that within disability, there is an ability. It is the ability to connect and live from higher consciousness. Hadden was born with this ability. And like so many others, she is here to remind us all that we were too. Connecting to Hadden in this way and meeting her where she is has been transformative and healing for both of us. We have more fun and live fuller, healthier lives than I ever imagined possible in the early days of our journey together. It feels to me that this is how we really intended to live, and that we chose this time and this life to do so. So thank you for being here. Your presence matters. Your support matters. And we hope you enjoy this episode as much as we enjoyed bringing it through. Thank you. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Bridge of Love. Today is all about embodiment and the co-creation of New Earth. Sometimes I get asked about my work and nonverbal communication. How does it help kids like my daughter or adults like my daughter? How does communicating nonverbally with them, what does it do for them? How does it help everyone involved, right? Or how does connecting in higher consciousness, like when I channel her, actually help her? Essentially, why would you do it? And I think this episode is the best answer to that question because they don't really need our help. They're just here to lead us into a better place of existence with them. Right? So this concept initially downloaded to me in November of last year. So it's been in the works for quite a while. It's been hanging out, waiting to be released. And the reason for this, I believe, is that it's such a big topic because it's essentially the highest purpose of nonverbal communication. So I'm really excited to bring this information to light and in the way that I experience it, right? And to channel Hadden at the end and of the episode and help it land even deeper. So with that said, if you have any questions that come up as we go along, because I know this is quite a big topic, please put those in the comments and I will get to them and I'll cover them the next time I do an episode for sure. So when I started my journey with channeling Hadden, I essentially had three goals. For my life to feel better, which had a lot to do with my own response to being a caregiver and reaching my physical, mental, and emotional limits. Number two, for Hadden to get better. So essentially to heal her, to help heal her. Isn't that what we all want for our loved ones? And number three, for our life together to make more sense. I knew deep down that there was something more going on than what society in general was focused on because I'd already experienced our spiritual connection from the moment she was born and throughout her life to the point, I would say, when this all started coming together in terms of learning to connect to her in higher consciousness, it was probably about 3.5 years ago. So that's a long time to have a lot of experiences with her, some amazing and magical and some more difficult, right? Of course, we're here for all of it. So I'd already experienced that spiritual connection with her, and I wanted to focus on that. I was asking for more. What I didn't realize is that it would lead me to concepts like we're going to discuss today. embodiment was nowhere on my radar or within my scope of knowledge 3.5 years ago. But my desire to focus on the magic of my connection with Hadden and to learn how to communicate with her required me to open my own channel, my own connection to source, and my own soul level connection, my connection with my own energy, right? And once this began opening up, things started to come to me sort of randomly more often, even when I wasn't intentionally sitting down to channel her, right? Or ask a specific question. Things just started coming in, and embodiment is definitely one of those things, those understandings that would just drop in. A few other examples I've covered in earlier episodes, like the higher purpose of nonverbal children, which I think was like my 3rd episode. And that wasn't even in my level, in my field of awareness when I started the podcast. It kind of came in as I did it. And that's the beautiful thing about creating something like this is I'm asking for more, and then the more comes through, and then you guys get to share it with me. I get to share it with you. So here we are talking about embodiment, which I never even knew what it was. And then the structure and the inspiration for our Soul Speak course was another one of those things that came through in the form of a download, in just this sort of instant understanding and information that dropped in. So, in case you're curious where all of this stuff comes from, sometimes I experience something with Hadden first, like a life experience, and the episode comes from that experience. That was definitely the case for the first episode of this season, which was called Our Infinite Nature. Other times I receive the information and then the experience of it unfolds, and that takes time. So that's kind of where I'm at with this coming in last year. And then I just allowed it to sort of be in my field of understanding. And a lot of this year I've been really called to really live in this stuff and experience my life with Hadden, and just allow it to all unfold. And so today we'll touch on my understanding of embodiment and all that has come through about it since the end of last year with regard to nonverbal communication. Because that's my chosen path of understanding, which Hadden has introduced me to just by being her. So to me, embodiment is living as your soul. Living as your soul, which we all do on some level, or we wouldn't be here. Our soul energy is the reason our bodies function here in the physical plane. It powers the body. And when that journey is complete, our journey in the body, we move on beyond the physical plane and beyond the physical body. When I was in graduate school, I studied molecular biology. And I remember one of my professors who taught immunology, and 2 things he said that always stuck with me. And if you're happen to be watching Dr. Danielson, hopefully you're not offended that I only remembered 2 things from your class. He said that without our immune system, we'd be a puddle on the floor, because we'd literally be mush without all that our immune system is doing to defend us against, outside organisms. So our immune system is essentially saving us all day long without even our awareness of it. And he was also a molecular biologist and believed that ultimately everything came down to the molecular level and our DNA. And that, in that way, molecular biology was the foundation. Everything came down to that. Everything what came back to that foundation for all life, all understanding of it, and all potential cures. That was kind of my understanding of what he said and what I took from it. And I'm paraphrasing, but that all fascinated me. Like if you could understand the smallest thing in a system, you had the key to all of it. And I sort of think of embodiment and our soul in this same way, that without our energy, without our soul, we'd be a puddle on the floor. And by becoming aware of our soul, our own energetic presence, we hold the key to the entire universe because we're connected through our soul to all that is. So you could say that embodiment, it's why we're here, but it's also why we're here. So stay with me. Embodiment is why we're even able to exist in the physical plane. And our soul is powering our entire physical being. But developing our understanding and our awareness of our own soul allows us to embody on higher and higher levels. It's essentially our purpose here, or the spiritual path, right? And what came to me is that communicating from the soul level with another person requires this awareness. It develops our understanding, and this awareness is what allows more and more of our energy into the physical body. It is this becoming more conscious. You're becoming more of what you are. You're allowing more of your own energy into your body, into your reality. And I actually channeled Hadden on this in our last Soul Speak, the last Soul Speak course that we did. And you can get that meditation available for free. And it's, if you just go on my website and sign up for our email list, you will receive that for free. And it came to me as I was writing this episode that, oh yeah, that's what that activation was about. It's called expanding into a higher level of you. And that's kind of was one thing that came through her teaching when we were focused on one of the concepts within, learning nonverbal communication. So I'll put the link below for that if you'd like to check it out. So I hope that analogy is helpful. I just found it kind of funny that when I was thinking about how to explain embodiment, and that just popped into my head, so I thought I'd share it with you. The way I think about embodiment is that when you focus yourself into higher frequencies, into love, for example, in order to tune into someone telepathically, that's what the bridge of love is. That's how she taught me. The bridge, we have a bridge between us, and that is love. That is how we're going to communicate, is through your love for me, my love for you. When you do that, when you focus yourself into love, that frequency must move through your body. It's where you are vibrationally, and that's where everything and everyone in your reality shows up. Your level of consciousness, where you're at vibrationally, is actually energy. It's a frequency, and it creates a field that determines how others show up. And Hadden's very sensitive to this field. She's told me that in channel. I know by experience. It's coming at me from all directions once I started paying attention. A while back, she said in channel that life is like a video game. And we actually came here to play together. And whatever level I get to, she's able to show up there. And so she's like, I can only get to the level that you are. That's how this goes. But we intended to play together, and that's the co-creation part, which I also find fascinating, which is a huge part of this episode and this concept for me. And I'll touch on that more in a little bit. So, embodiment is allowing more and more of your soul energy into your body and living as your soul. And I think this happens naturally as you start opening to higher consciousness and your awareness of all that you are. It's quite the opening process. It's just that's what the remembering is. It's all a process, and it just starts happening naturally. It naturally expands. That's what consciousness does. And the practice of channeling does the same thing. But if you think about it, channeling is our natural state and where Hadden exists a lot of the time. By being physically disabled, she truly is able to just exist. That's on the simplest way to explain that, that's kind of what it comes down to if you're just looking at her physical design and what you can see and feel or touch and interact with physically. And she has said that channeling is a way to bring more of our soul energy to earth. So as I open my channel, I allow more of my soul energy as I allow more of Hadden's through as well. And you can do the same thing by tuning into someone else's channel. This all comes down to where nonverbal communication and telepathy are occurring. So in my experience, they occur in higher frequencies than what we learn to exist in most of the time, because we learn to focus with our mind on the physical senses and the physical world and everything outside of ourselves, right? As I channel, or as you tune into another person's channel, you let go of all of that, all of the learned things, all the things your mind is familiar with. And you're left with presence, stillness, and energy. And the translation that occurs in that space is the act of channeling. But you're not really doing anything, you're just receiving. And the same happens with nonverbal communication. You're tuning in to someone else within yourself and within oneness. Oneness is a very high frequency because it's where our souls reside and where we're all connected. So here's the main point. As you connect in oneness, but you're still in your physical body actually takes on the frequency that you're tuning into. And I can actually feel this very strongly when I'm in channel because my eyes are closed, and that stillness of my body helps me feel what's happening energetically. I'm not distracted by the outside world, and it actually helps me hear things, translate the energy and all of that. So your body sort of existing in that higher frequency is why it feels so good as well, like to meditate and be in the stillness of meditation and channeling. And my point with all of this is that communication is an everyday way of living, right? It's I find, as I kind of started doing this, where I'm tuning into Hadden's higher self, right? Her soul, in order to get answers, get some, figure out what our life means, all of those three things I, talked about in the beginning of the episode. I'm doing this, but most channels are not channeling physical people in their reality. And at some point I was like, huh, that's different. But I knew that was my path. And it was a way, it is very clearly the way I meant to learn all of this stuff and to develop alongside Hadden in her awesomeness and where she really truly exists. I just got there by channeling her. And so this is kind of, some of this is connected to me understanding why the heck I need to channel my daughter, right? Like, because no one else, I hadn't seen anyone else doing that. And there's all kinds of reasons, in the spiritual sense to channel someone. Um, it's just usually that's like an angel or, you know, higher beings, non-physical beings, everything in the non-physical, correct? Like that's generally the assumption around channeling and the general what people are doing. And I just, it kind of blew my mind because I was like, oh, this is really where we're going and where we are. These kids are showing up in such high frequency that this is the way. This is how we um, learn about them and hang out with them and learn to attune our own bodies to their world. And over time, then I learned how to slow down with her in my physical presence with her, how to be present. Sometimes you got to you got to sit down and channel someone for a year before you realize, oh, I can do this all day long. I can just be present with her and I can receive what it is that I can pick up what she's laying down a lot easier in this state than I can in my distracted, stressed out, worried state. And oh, yeah, I think that's the whole freaking point of this whole thing. So, like I said in the very beginning, they don't need our help. They're here to show us um, into a higher level of existence where they have the easiest time being here. So again, communication is just this beautiful everyday thing that we all use. It already exists. It's part of being human. I'm just fascinated by the fact that I've connected so many higher concepts into my everyday life with my kid just to be able to understand what else is going on beyond, you know, uh, our the physical part of our lives. Um, so you end up, so as I explained, like you end up connecting in higher consciousness sort of by default, like more and more of the time. And then you actually live more and more in your full presence, full consciousness, full everything you are, right? You're not just a physical body. And in these higher frequencies. So I think I find that really cool and absolutely fascinating. And that's why I pulled this episode together from everything that's kind of dropped in recent months. So here's where I want to bring in the idea of co-creating, right? Essentially, you're living with, if you're around someone who's nonverbal, it's for a reason. That was part of, it sounds obvious when I say it, but that was part of what came through in the course and the inspiration for it and those downloads was that's entirely by divine design. There's no accident that child, that relative, that person you teach, the person you care for is in your life. That is not an accident. And if you're tuned into where they are in those higher frequencies, that's just clear. It just is. You just know you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And if you ask them, they will say, "Yep, you're here, and I'm here for a reason, and we had a deal." So I find that really beautiful. So essentially, living with them and how you live with them is a co-creation, right? Um, And we're talking about co-creating New Earth. Again, an entirely new concept for me that I didn't even know what it was when all of this started. But New Earth is a frequency. It's not an entirely different Earth in a sense. Like it's a frequency from which you experience the world. And in terms of consciousness, yes, then you end up being on a completely different Earth. And I find New Earth to be pretty awesome. So it's a frequency. And it's new because we're newly expanding into it. And as we become more conscious, right? You could call it heaven on earth. It's bringing all that we are into our physical reality. And it's what the bridge of love connects us to. And communication is a co-creation, right? In the most basic sense, communication takes at least two people, and where someone else is vibrationally tends to affect how you communicate with them. And this applies to everyone. With Hadden, I had to meet her in the higher frequencies of love, of oneness, of presence, of pure energetic transmission. And this was happening way before I knew anything about telepathy, anything about nonverbal communication. There were moments where I felt super connected to her. And I knew she was aware of it. And I eventually realized she was communicating to me in those moments. Like her awareness was so tuned into me that I was like, oh, she's trying to tell me something. And I think I know what it is, right? And but it was highly energetic. So I didn't grasp it for a long time to be communication. It really was to me just our connection. And it's one of the things that led me to focusing on all of this stuff. You know, that experience with her in my physical presence, being so connected, and realizing it wasn't about, and realizing if we were, I've talked about this before, like if we were blabbing on, we wouldn't have the connection that I was experiencing. I was like, wow, this is really special. And so our connection is where I started to become aware of something bigger going on. You know, aware of the energy, aware of her presence, aware of my presence and the effect of it. All of this was sort of happening before I even wanted to learn about uh, nonverbal communication. So here's what came through in, you know, the download in a download months ago, and I'll kind of go through it now. There are a couple layers to it. First, my understanding of how Hadden exists, where she exists. In one of her earliest messages to me, she said that there were no mistakes in her creation, down to every strand of DNA. And I know she said that because she's like, Mom, you studied molecular biology. Like, seriously, everything's perfect. And I was like, okay, they've told me your one nucleotide's different than it should be. You know, like in my head, nope, perfect. Down to every strand of DNA. And she probably even said nucleotide. I don't know. I just remember this channel because I would not have said that. And one of my earliest realizations was that her physical condition gives her the ability to be more connected to her soul. My experience of her, and I know I'm not the only one, is that she brings a lot of energy here. And you can feel that energy when you're around her. And it's my understanding that she exists from this energy, which is her own consciousness. And that itself leads others into that higher vibration by default. So the way she's designed allows her to do this all the time. It's how she is, it's how she lives, and it's where she lives from. She's living from her connection to her soul. She experiences life from the conscious, feeling, sensitive, and knowing part of herself, which is different from how we generally experience life, focused on everything outside of us, and in our mind, right? Thinking about what everything means and navigating reality up here, right? In the mind. But here's where co-creation comes in, and where I think all of this gets really interesting. My understanding is that bringing her soul energy here and existing from it and allowing it into the physical body and physical experience are sort of two different things, two different levels. And I experience this as, you know, how well she's doing in her everyday life. The more difficult it is for her to embody her own energy, the more difficult life is in her physical body. The harder her days are, the harder her nights are. These are generalizations, but that's the basic idea. So does that make sense? Like where she's living from and how she's interpreting the world from that very sensitive part of herself, from her energy. I'm kind of visualizing it kind of, your body is in your soul and your soul's all around you. She's up here. She's a lot of times in that feeling part of herself, in her energy. But that, and then the experience of her physical body are sort of two different things. Her physical experience, right? She doesn't necessarily need the physical to have an experience of her world, to navigate through it. That's how she's designed. So those are those two different levels, right? And when I started connecting to her in channel, and as that connection strengthened, we started having better days, better nights, and easier time, just in general. And what I've learned is that it's difficult for them to embody when the energy in the field around them is more dense, meaning lower vibrational or further from the vibration that they naturally attune to, which is their soul. So they're still connected to their soul, but they have to exist more in that level of consciousness and less here in the physical. Does that make sense? In my experience with Hadden, as my level of consciousness increases, she's able to embody more of her energy and not just exist from it. She's able to actually bring it into her body. And in her case, what I've sort of seen, this means, being more present with what's happening in her physical reality, more interactive, calmer in a neurologic sense, in a central nervous system sense. She's calmer, and things like her eyes are able to focus more easily. To me, it improves it sort of maxes out the potential of her physical body and her physical experience. It's that her energy coming into her body that's how I experience embodiment for her. And I'm certain I have not even come close to describing all that her soul energy is doing in her body, and how it's affecting her body and how it feels for her. But those are the things that I can see, that I've experienced as I've gone along this path. And I'm like, this is cool. This is a better life. This feels better. I've already met the goal of life feeling better, right? So here's the point. they're doing their part in bringing more of their soul energy through their very clear and strong connection to it. That's how she's designed. She has a clear, strong connection to her energy, and she lives from that connection. And in that way, they lead us to this certain point as we connect to it, just by wanting to connect to them, communicate with them, right? But as we do that, our bodies then start existing in those higher frequencies. And our role in this co-creation, as their caregivers, as the people in their everyday life, as the people in their field, as the people they're tuned into, our role is to embody our own energy more. Our own energy, meaning those higher frequencies, our own soul energy, so that the energetic field around us is a frequency that allows them to do the same. And this all kind of came in sort of this visual to me. And so, yeah, I wish I had like a whiteboard behind me and I can draw this out, but I'm a terrible artist, so that's not going to be happening. But I wish I could, this all just came through in a very, in a visual, basically, that they were kind of leading us to a certain point vibrationally. We tune into that. That kind of becomes our physical existence, our reality, our body, our frequency that we live in. And then they're like, thank you. Now I can be here in this physical world, in the field that we're sharing, more easily, because that makes sense to me. That resonates with this higher connection that I've developed naturally by being designed the way I am. So, um, you know, they can bring in more of their soul into their bodies. They can embody more. So, essentially, the point of all of this is that as we embody, they embody. That is the co-creation. That's the team effort. They lead us into higher vibrations by connecting and communicating with them, and we help them embody these frequencies by stabilizing our own field of consciousness, which they're so sensitive to. So one of the foundational messages I received from Hadden, which I refer to in our course, says that the point of nonverbal communication is to connect to the shared field. She's like, you're connected to the field now, and that's the whole point of all of this. And that's why I believe love is such a powerful thing, because when you feel love for someone, you embody that too. And you're embodying everything you feel. So there's that. Which is also why this work is so magical, because eventually the stuff you don't really want to feel, the non-truths of you, kind of just start evaporating because they can't survive where love is. And so when you feel love for someone, you embody that too, and it creates a shared field in a frequency that matches that of our souls. And she has said also that the love we feel, we are the love we feel for one another, the love we have for each other. That is what we are. It makes us up. And I think that when you're in that frequency of love and you are matching that of your soul energy and the truth of you, that's really where we all intended to live. And that's where I started to feel like I was living more fully with my daughter, experiencing life more fully with her. And everything kind of opened up. I was meeting her where she is and not expecting her to come down to me vibrationally, which honestly just isn't possible for them. And when they have to, again, it turns into physically really difficult, mentally really difficult, emotionally really difficult. It's all connected, times, right? Their design, it's difficult because, or it's not really possible for them to come down into lower frequencies because their design doesn't really allow it. That's how I think of it. They don't function as well in the third dimension. They didn't come here to meet the goals we set for ourselves and for them from our limited perspective. That's become really clear for me. And I mentioned this in a really early episode that, or maybe it was in the first course I did, but as I let go of all those expectations, basically, of what I thought I needed to get Hadden to or help her, the goals that were all, developmental milestones, blah, 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 right? As I let go of that, then even at that time I was aware, like 2 or 3 years ago, I was aware, like, now I can see what she's actually here for. She's showing me more of that because I let go of the expectations that I set from a perspective that was very limited. I wasn't thinking about from the soul level perspective. It wasn't part of my understanding yet. So what I believe is that we really intended to get to this heaven on earth, new earth, the fifth dimension essentially, and live with them there in this higher perspective that is the perspective of our soul, and that this is the healing we're searching for. It's the I wanted to help her feeling, right? And this is also, the frequency of new earth. It's where the infinite potential of our soul exists, and it's where miracles occur. And that came in channel as well. When Hadden was talking about embodiment, she's like, okay, and so when we get here, and I'm sort of visualizing us being more in this higher frequency and kind of more in our a lot more of our own energy, she's like, when your soul is present in your body, that's where the miracles occur. And I was like, cool. Embodiment brings all of that potential into our bodies, into our physical reality, and into our experience. And when I say healing, I don't mean necessarily that Hadden's physical presentation will change that much. I like to go over this because my human brain gets stuck here too. Again, I really want to help my daughter. I want her to have a healthy life. I want her to be everything she can and have the best experience possible, right? But what I mean is that her physical presentation will be recognized as perfect, as healed, as the perfect vessel of expressing source energy or soul energy. And again, even my mind thinks of healing. My mind thinks of healing and thinks fixing. And it's just changing, right? And it's what we've learned. And what kids like Hadden are coming here to shift us out of. But I also feel that, infinite potentials do mean exactly that, and that our souls came here for those too. And I don't know what those are for kids like Hadden. And that's okay. What I've come to learn is that everyone's on their own journey, and we're all doing our part to exist in the highest frequencies that we can and see life from the highest perspective possible. And that's just that. That's just everything's fine there. Everything's great. It's more than fine. It's more than you ever even imagined it could be, because you just start seeing everyone for the truth of what they really are, and because you're existing in your truth, if that makes sense. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that. Infinite potentials exist. Miracles can occur because we are that ourselves. That's what we are. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I think it's important to reframe our perspective of healing. And because in the new earth, we are all healed. I think the healing is more, like I said, a healing of our perspective, a shift in our perspective, a vibrational shift in our perspective, right? Which changes our experience here of ourselves and of others, like I said. And I also think that when we are all aligned to the perfection of everything, maybe that opens us all to more potentials within our human bodies, right? Maybe the miracle is just that we finally see ourselves and each other as the miracles that we already are. And we allow ourselves to be here as those miracles. So it is us in our wholeness that is occurring, right? This is where miracles occur, is what she was saying in channel. Like now the miracles can occur because and your full energy is in your body, or as much as you're able to hold, more and more, right? And it came to me as I was writing this. I was like, well, maybe it's just us in our wholeness that's occurring. We're the miracles that are occurring. Yeah, we're the miracles that are happening. And another thing that came through as I was writing this is that, and this has kind of started coming in other random times, like when I'm looking at old pictures of Hadden and seeing, I've gone through this in another episode too, as you change your level of consciousness, as you shift, your perception of everyone, everything shifts. So you can look at an old photo and see that person in their full expression. And I see everything Hadden had in these earlier years that I was just looking back the other day. When old photos pop up on your phone. And so this is coming in more and more lately, that this is all a natural progression. We just have to say yes to the full opportunity that's presented to us. That's our relationship with them. And our role in the co-creation begins when we say yes. And I said that about our course, the fact about nonverbal communication in general, the fact that they are here with us in this life is an opportunity. And the relationship itself is an opportunity to expand our own consciousness. And what also came in is like, we always knew we would say yes. We always knew we would open to all that this life held for us. Not just the beginning experience of like everything being really hard, right? I think we wanted all of it. And my feeling here is that we chose this particular time on Earth because the frequencies are more accessible. We are all ascending together along with the Earth. And another thing to think about, just take a moment and think about, what if your embodiment also allows the Earth's embodiment and vice versa? So you can think about this in terms of communicating with another person and co-creating the reality you exist in with them. But that came in right at the end of when I was writing this. Those two things, right, that I think are just so cool, that once you get into these higher levels where they really truly wanted us to come and hang out, and live, we then get to just be the miracle. They get to be the miracle that they are. Everything's perfect. It doesn't need changing. And um, we're all in our full power of how we intended this life. And even the earth can be involved in that. It has to be. Like we're here, right? Um, yeah, we chose the earth too. Um, we chose this life together and we chose it here. And I just, yeah, that kind of came in like, what if your embodiment also allows the earth's embodiment and vice versa? That's another co-creation that came to me. Um, all right, I think we can stop there in terms of all of the amazing downloads that I have received on this, and um, my experience of all of this. I love to think about why I'm doing something and what I feel like, because my life with Hadden didn't mean what I thought it was going to mean when she was born. Everything gets kind of thrown up in the air. And for me to have her have a higher purpose, to have communication have a higher purpose, I just think our understanding of that creates more and more opening to of consciousness, of our consciousness, of and just it just continues. And I just think the more I come into these realizations, I love sharing them with you guys, and it it really benefits my life with Haddon so much, um, to have these understandings and to sort of um, allow the newness of all of this, allow the new awarenesses to come in, and allow our life to mean everything that it was supposed to mean. And I think it's fascinating because if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that life, that's life. It surprises the heck out of you, and I think that's what our souls intended. Um, so yeah, let's. I want to see what Haddon has to say, and really bring in these higher frequencies for everyone to connect to. I will also put a link below for our course, our Soul Speak course. I have that on sort of a wait list right now. And when that gets to a magic number, I will send out information if you're interested. And then I'll send out, I'll create a new date for signing up and for when that's going to occur. So yeah, that will be on our website, erincameron.org. And um, I love doing that course, and I think it expands every time. And it's just a fun in-person way to absorb all of this knowledge that, it didn't exist for me when I had Haddon, and it opened up entirely new avenues for connection and for deeper life experience with her. So, okay, I'm going to connect to Haddon, and essentially I'm connecting to her soul. If you're not familiar with channeling, that's okay. Um, I'm, basically tuning in into myself, into the love that I have for Haddon, and um, she's there in her higher form, um, and we can all feel that. So here we go. You can take this in however works for you. You can close your eyes. You can, um, I don't, yeah, even if you're driving, just be careful. You can lay down. You can, you know, get comfortable. There's really nothing to do but receive Okay, let's do it. Hello, yes, I am here, and I am so happy to be here in the heart space, in the space where we are all connected. I'm so happy to be here with you, here with all of you. You are so much more than you learned with your mind. So much more than your mind is intended to understand, than your mind is built to understand. Come into this space. It is within you. It is your heart. As you drop into the heart, as your awareness focuses there, you allow the mind to come along. As we meant for it to be in life. As you come into your heart, you will feel a love that is yours. A love that is you. We want you to focus on this love. Focus on this feeling. And as you focus, it will quickly expand throughout your entire body. Because it already is everything. It already is all of you. It is your true state of being, your natural state of being. You're just becoming aware of it. Your awareness allows. Your awareness opens you. Your awareness is the yes. It's how you say yes for your body, yes for your reality, yes for your life. It's to simply become aware and allow what is already you to be here fully, to be in and as every cell in your body, to be the powering force of your soul. We want you to feel how it feels to be here. Feel how it feels to live. You may need to close your eyes. You may need to breathe. You may need to slow down. You may need to go within, deeply within, and feel. How it feels to live as the love that you are. Breathe in love. With every breath, there is more love. Every breath, more is allowed. More of you is allowed to be here as you already are, as the love that you are. Breathe and open. To this energy that we exist in, and this energy that is here for you. It is you. It is all of us. As you feel what it feels like to be here fully as love, you will start to notice a knowing, another sense, knowing this is a sense that exists within you and a sense that you intended to use. In this life. Feel what it feels like to be here Just be. Just be here and feel. Not be here and think about what it feels like. Be here and feel. This is where I am. This is where we lead you. Because we know. Because it's how we planned it. That you didn't come here with the same awareness. You did. You came here with it. It is you. But your human journey is into the awareness that is you. This awareness that you have another sense available to you, another way to interpret the world, another way to experience what is true for you and to experience what is true for another, for any other. Is that not the highest intention of communication? To be felt, to be known, to be understood. This is the deepest and highest version of being heard. For so long, many of you desire to hear us. My mom wanted to hear me say, I love you. And she did in channel. It is, of course, the first thing I said. Of course, I knew that that is what she desired most out of this connection. And then she started realizing I was saying it without words. I was saying it in full presence with her, in stillness, in the quiet, in the love. Not in the lack, not in the judgment, in the love, in the appreciation of being together just as we are. When you get there, you will feel the truth that you are love, the truth that all others are too. And that sense, your knowing sense, your feeling sense, feeling turns to knowing. Just keep feeling, just keep feeling. Feel your energy, feel the other's energy. Feel it together. Feel it as one. Feel the power of that. That is where the knowing lies. Knowing another is to know them from within yourself, from within your truth, from within the real you. And this is why embodiment exists, why it's so important. We wanted to come here and live, really truly live. We chose different versions on purpose, with purpose. There is a higher purpose to everything and everyone. And as you connect to yourself, to your truth, to the love that you are, as the feeling of that turns into knowing, you may start to know and understand your own purpose. Which is to be love, which is to express love, which is to bring it here, into your body and into the earth and into your reality. Communicating is just one experience of love. And those of us that came here not speaking the normal way, the familiar way, the common way, not using words, we acted as a switch to switch on this version of living as love. This reason for living as love. This reason for ascension. This path. We hold you here in this love, in all that we are, so that you may remember all that you are, and so that you may know, truly know, with that feeling, knowing sense, what you really are, so that you may know love, and so that you may know others through that love. That is the bridge. It is you. It is all of us in our embodied state. We love you and we thank you for being here. It is truly our joy. And so it is, because you are.